Honkai Star Rail version 2.0 has just released and has been acclaimed so far as a great story. A lot of people are fighting characters they hate, love, whatever. But one character that everyone seems to love in particular, because she's very easy on the eyes, is Black Swan. And of course, Black Swan holds a place in my heart. The story has made some crazy things with her happen, but in the end, she's gorgeous. But what's also very gorgeous about her is her kit and just in general how fun it is to really, build her. So today we're going to be talking about what you need to ascend her from level 1 to level 80, and of course how to build her casual to probably a little bit more meta on the side. So we have all that coming in this video. But before we get into that, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below and hit that notification bell to be notified when the next Honkai Star Rail video comes out. And of course, don't forget I'm sponsored by the ever wonderful Gamer Subs. As you can see from all this stuff over here, we have so much Gamer Subs memorabilia here at this point. But yes, use code TYSHA for 10% off. And of course, without any further delay, let's go ahead and get into today's video. As you can see, we have Black Swan right up here, and of course I'm using the ever wonderful Honey Hunter World. I use them a lot for these guides, so make sure to check them out. But of course, this is the HSR side, so we're gonna be talking about Black Swan, Black Swan, Guardian of Recollection faction, and of course of the Nihility Path and Wind Element. Now, let's go ahead and first talk about essential materials. So you're gonna need 15 glimmering cores, or sorry, extinguishing cores, or extinguished cores. 15 glimmering cores are right here, and then of course the 15 squirming cores. Now remember your rules of 3 of the extinguished make a glimmering, and 3 of the glimmering make a squirming. And of course you're gonna need 15 of each, which come from overworld enemies. I believe it's the first set of enemies that ever came out, but I could be wrong on that. But I digress. It's very easy to get these, so you should have no problem. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the Stagnant Shadow pieces, the Ascended Debris. You're going to fight the Stagnant Shadow boss approximately 13 times at max level, which means that you're going to be getting 5 at a time. Now, with 65 in total and getting 5 at a time, you have you have to use 30 Trailblaze power for this every time, which is about 4 for 120, which means about 8 times in one day. So if you need to fight them 13 times, you're at least getting 8 of those done in your first day. And again, the Stagnant Shadows are pretty easy in my opinion, so it's definitely something. So the Ascension part is not the hardest part. What the hardest part is going to be traces. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the cores again really quick. So you're going to need 41 more extinguished cores, which brings you to a total of 56. For the glimmering cores, you're going to need 56 more, which brings you to a total of 71. And then, of course, you're going to need 58 more squirming cores, which brings you to a total of 73. So it's a lot, but at the same time, these come daily. You're going to do just fine. Now let's go ahead and talk about these new trace materials. This is the Fiery Spirit trace material, which is the Penacony version of the Nihility trace material. So you're gonna need to farm these new ones because it's a lot. So you're gonna need 18 of these Fiery Spirits. You're gonna need 69 of the next tier Starfire Essence, and then you're gonna need 139 of the Heaven Incinerator. And again, rules of 3 of these Fiery Spirits make this the Starfire Essence, and 3 Starfire Essences make a Heaven Incinerator. And again, it's a lot, I know, but this is what they're gonna do. At least, hopefully, not until 3.0, we're not gonna have to farm different traces after all these. It's gonna be just these for a little while. Now, again, you get those from the red calyxes. Calyxes, yes, that's what they're said. Now, of course, we also have these, the Past Evils of the Borehole Planet Disaster, right? Which this comes from the Swarm King boss. And Swarm King's pretty easy in my personal opinion. I don't think he's really that bad. I auto him a lot, so it's kind of whatever to me, to be honest, but I digress. You need about 12 of these, and you get 3 per run. So you're gonna do 4 runs in total, and you can do 3 runs a week. You're gonna be able to get it by the 2nd week, so it's not too bad. And then of course you're gonna need 8 tracks of destiny for your traces. I almost said talents for a second, but let's go ahead and dive into the actual skills of what, Black Swan can actually do, right? So skill, Descendants, False Twilight. I don't know why I'm brain farting. By the way, I just got done with a live stream here on YouTube where I actually played through the entire story, and I'm still trying to like, there's so much that went on for that. But yes, Descendants False Twilight skill deals wind damage equal to 112.5% of Black Swan's attack to a single target enemy and any adjacent targets. At the same time, there's a 100% base chance of inflicting 1 stack of Arcana on the target enemy and the adjacent targets. And there's a 100% base chance of reducing the defense of the target enemy and the adjacent targets by 23.8%, lasting for 3 turns. Now, you're probably asking, what is Arcana? We're gonna get to that here in just a little bit, I promise you, so just hold tight. But of course, let's talk about these bonus traces as well. The Viscera's Disquiet. After using the skill to hit an enemy that has Wind Shear, Bleed, Burn, or Shock, each of these debuffs respectively has a 65% base chance of inflicting 1 extra stack of Arcana. So it's really important that you get that, because again, the more stacks of Arcana you have, the more damage you're going to do. And again, we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Followed by the ultimate here called the Bliss of Overworld's Embrace, and it is a beautiful ultimate in my personal opinion. I love the animation of this one. Inflicts Epiphany to all enemies for 2 turns. Enemies affected by Epiphany take 30% more damage in their turn, and their Arcana effect is regarded as Wind Shear, Bleed, Burn, and Shock effects. In addition, when their Arcana effect is triggered at the beginning of the next turn, the Arcana stacks are not reset. The stack non-reset effect can be triggered up to 1 time in Epiphany's duration, and its charges are replenished when Epiphany is applied again, dealing wind damage equal to 144% of Black Swan's attack to all enemies, which means that you're gonna want to make sure that you're getting a lot of attack percentage and also a lot of effect hit rate, because you want to be able to afflict those, you know, statuses. So we'll go into the Loom of Fate's Caprice, which is the talent here. Every time an enemy target receives DOT at the start of each turn, there is a 72.5% base chance for it to be inflicted with Arcana. So you see, this kit is just all about Arcana, and there's a big reason why, because the damage on it is insane. While afflicted with Arcana, enemy targets receive wind DOT equal to 300% of Black Swan's attack at the start of each turn. So again, while afflicted with Arcana, enemies targets receive wind DOT equal to 300% of Black Swan's attack at the start of each turn. Again, make sure that you're going for that attack percentage. It's important. Each stack of Arcana increases this DOT damage. While afflicted with Arcana, enemy targets receive... Oh wait, I already talked about that. DOT damage multiplier by 50%. Then Arcana resets to 1 stack. Arcana can stack up to 50 times, which is pretty dang insane. Only when Arcana causes damage at the start of the enemy target's turn, Black Swan triggers additional effects based on the number of Arcana stacks inflicted on the target. When there are 3 or more Arcana stacks, deals wind DOT equal to 225% of Black Swan's attack to the adjacent targets, with a 72.5% base chance of inflicting 1 stack of Arcana on adjacent targets. When there are 7 or more Arcana stacks, enables the current DOT dealt this time to ignore 20% of the targets and the adjacent targets defense, which is huge, because being able to shred that defense while also doing so much damage, it gets crazy. So you want to make sure that you're constantly getting that 7 stacks of Arcana. And of course, you also have your bonus traces here. Goblet's Dredges, which is at character Ascension 4. There's a 65% base chance to inflict 1 stack of Arcana when a target enters battle. Every time an enemy target receives DOT during a single attack by an enemy, there is a 65% base chance for the target to be inflicted with 1 stack of Arcana, stacking up to 3 times during 1 single attack. And then of course you have Candleflame's Portent. Increases this unit's damage by an amount equal to 60% of the effect hit rate, up to a maximum damage increase of 72%. Hence why effect hit rate is going to take precedence as well. Now, as we go down here to talk about the technique from Facade to Verite, after this technique is used, there is a 150% base chance for each enemy to be inflicted with 1 stack of Arcana at the start of the next battle. For each successful application of Arcana to the target, inflicts another stack of Arcana to the same target. This process repeats until Arcana fails to be inflicted on this target, which means that's where the 50 stacks comes from, because it's just like stack, 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 stack. You might fail, but if you do, you probably already got at least a couple stacks. For each successful application of Arcana on the target, its base chance of success is equal to 50% of the base chance of the previous successful infliction of Arcana. So granted, you go 50%, then 25, then 12.5, then 6 point whatever, and there's going to be a chance that you're not going to hit it, but at the same time, like, that could technically go infinitely, and you could just be one lucky SOB. I'm just saying, if you were to somehow get all those stacks from it, it'd be insane. Now, of course, we talked about building her up with her traces and building her up here. Don't forget, you're also going to need 3.3 million credits, which is insane. But we just talked about building, like ascending from level 1 to level 80 and getting your traces up. But what about relics and light cones, right? So let's first talk about light cones, right? This is the new light cone that just came out alongside, obviously, Black Swan, called Reforge Remembrance. Increases the wearer's effect hit rate by 40% when the wearer deals damage to an enemy inflicted with wind shear, burn, shock, or bleed. Each respectively grants 1 stack of profit, stacking up to 4 times. In a single battle, only 1 stack of profit can be granted for each type of DOT. Every stack of profit increases the wearer's attack by 5%. And enables the DoD dealt to ignore 7.2% of the target's defense. So times that by 4, you're getting 20% extra attack. And what is this? 14.4, 28.8% defense shred, which is insane. But it works so well with Black Swan. But if you don't have that 5-star, you could always go for a couple of 4-stars. Here's a couple that have been, well, this one's been out for a long time. Eyes of the Prey. Increases the wearer's effect hit rate by 20% and increases DOT by 24%. Again, this is important because your effect hit rate is going to take a precedence as you're building a DOT character. So making sure to have that high effect hit rate and high DOT damage is important for your Nihility characters. We do have this old free-to-play light code. So if you haven't gotten this, I don't think you can get it at the moment. I can't remember, but I got it like not day 1, but when this event came out. Increase the wearer's effect hit rate by 20% when the wearer attacks defense reduced enemies, regenerates 4 energy. Now this is important if you're running a team with Pella as well, being able to shred that defense a little bit, or you get lucky and you're able to like shred that defense with Black Swan. This is a good one to have, especially to increase that effect hit rate by a solid 20%. Now, of course, we have one other 4-star light cone called Good Night and Sleep Well. For every debuff the target enemy has, the damage dealt by the wearer increases by 12%, stacking up to 3 times, which means that you go up to a 36% buff. And this effect can also applies to the DOT as well. So lots of really good light cones. Obviously, your best course of action is Reforged Remembrance. If you do get this light cone or you do summon for the light cone, it makes sense because it's her light cone. Eyes of the Prey is definitely a very solid one, and the one that I was going to use if I didn't pull the light cone, which I haven't pulled Reforged Remembrance yet as of this video, but I do plan to. I'm at 50 pity. I gotta win the 75, okay? So those are 2 solid options regardless. I would definitely say Eyes of the Prey is definitely one. Now, let's go ahead and talk about relics here. First things first, when it comes to relics, I'm going to talk about Prisoner in Deep Confinement here in just a moment, but I want to talk about the stats you're going to worry about. When it comes to your stats, effect hit rate is going to be your biggest concern. You want to make sure that you have a very, very high effect hit rate. I believe you want to be around 115 to 120% with your Black Swan. So if you could get that, kudos. Next up is speed. Speed is always important for your characters, so being able to have that speed on your Black Swan is perfect. Attack percentage, because of the fact that attack percentage is going to be what, or just attack in general, is what your like stacking is going to be based on, and that includes your DOT. So those are the main 3, and of course attack flat is the next one because again, more attack is important, but your main focuses are effect hit rate, speed, attack percentage. Now, let's go ahead and talk about Prisoner in Deep Confinement here. So 2-piece attack increases by 12%, which again buffs up the attack is what you need. 4-piece, for every DOT the target enemy is afflicted with, the wearer will ignore 6% of its defense when dealing damage to it, and this effect is valid for a max of 3 DOTs. This is insane for Black Swan because the amount of the amount of DOT you're going to be doing, but also the amount of defense you're shredding, which is insane. If you combine a fully traced out Black Swan with her specific Lycaon, Reforged Remembrance, plus Prisoner in Deep Confinement, you've got an insane Black Swan. I'm just saying. But of course, if you don't have the Prisoner set, you could use Musketeer Wild Weak because again, 2-piece increases the attack by 12%, and then the 4-piece, the wearer's speed is increased by 6%, and the basic attack damage is increased by 10%. Very simple, but very effective. You can run this in 2-piece tandem with Eagle of Twilight Line, which increases wind damage by 10%. But you could also do this as a 4-piece as well. I probably wouldn't suggest it. Your main focus should be honestly the Prisoner of Deep Confinement. And when you're looking at obviously your pieces, your chest piece should have effect hit rate, and then your boots should have speed. That way your speed and your effect hit rate goes up and you hit those like bare minimums, right? Speaking of bare minimum requirements, let's go ahead and talk about the other 2-piece parts, which is your orb and your chain, right? So the Pan Cosmic Commercial Enterprise is a set that not a lot of characters use, and I feel bad because I never actually like fully I never actually fully farmed this set, which kind of sucks, but I'll deal with it with what I can because this is her best set. The 2-piece increases the wearer's effect hit rate by 10%. Meanwhile, the wearer's attack is increased by an amount that is equal to 25% of their current effect hit rate up to a maximum of 25%, which is pretty huge. Very, 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 very huge. Again, getting more effect hit rate is perfect, and if you could get this set going for Black Swan, you're not gonna have to worry too much about hitting that 120%. I'll tell you that right now. But this is her best 2-piece. You could run this, the Firmament Frontline Glamoth, which is increases the wearer's attack by 12%, and when the wearer's speed is equal to or higher than 135 and 160, the wearer deals 12% or 18% more damage. Or you could always go for the tried and true, easy to farm, or you probably already farmed it so much, the Space Sealing Station, or Herta Space Sealing Station, whatever you want to call it. Increase the wearer's attack by 12%, and when the wearer's speed reaches 120 or higher, the wearer's attack is increased by 12%. This is a very easy set to really just put on, because it's one of the first sets that you're ever going to farm, and a lot of characters use this. So if you somehow have a set where your orb is the wind percentage, or wind attack percentage, or whatever it's called, wind damage percentage up, whatever it is, and your chain is attack percentage, but it has, you know, the speed, effect hit rate, and all that stuff, then you're golden, because a lot of those you wouldn't bat an eye to, but it turns out they're actually really, really good for nihility units if you haven't run nihility. So for me, the perfect build would be Reforged Remembrance on your Black Swan, followed by running a 4-piece Prisoner in Deep Confinement, and then of course the Pan Cosmic Commercial Enterprise 2-piece. Again, your chest piece for your prisoners here, where is it? There we go. Your chest piece for the prisoner should be effect hit rate, and then your boots should be speed, followed by the Pan Cosmic having an orb of wind damage percentage, followed by a chain of attack percentage. I think that's the perfect Black Swan build that you could actually have. Now, of course, Black Swan is amazing. I think that overall her Arcana ability, being able to trigger so much damage over time, is freaking insane, and DOT teams got a really big buff. Her in tandem with Kafka is freaking insane, and you could even put her with Sampo, and it's insane just the amount of damage that you're able to actually do. So if you haven't summoned for Black Swan and you're really considering it, think about the fact that she is probably considered the best nihility unit in the game right now, or one of them, at least in contendership. But I digress. Really good unit, solid and easy build to do, and hopefully I helped you out a little bit. And of course, y'all, that's going to be it for today's video. If you like the content, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button down below and hit that notification bell to be notified of when the next Honkai Star Rail video comes out. And of course, thank you so much for all the love you guys have been giving me. I feel like I don't deserve the amount of views that I've been getting, but hey, I'm so thankful for it anyway. I love y'all. So thank you so much. Love y'all to death. And as as always, we will catch you in the next video. Please take care and be safe.